Welcome to Life, Lafter, Divorce Podcast, episode 91. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
Welcome back to another wonderful week of
Divorce.
Yeah. They keep coming and they just keep getting better.
I'm learning a lot, I'll tell you that much.
I know we have, do you realize we're almost up to 100 episodes?
That's what 91 means, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means we're 9 away, you guys. Hey, while you're out there tuning in, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And check out the website at lifelafterdivorce.com. While you're on the website, you may want to sign up for our newsletter because we're going to be giving off a little prize.
We are?
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, if you sign up and subscribe to our newsletter, and we will not spam you, but your name you may be eligible for a prize. Yeah. So there is that incentive. The other incentive you want to check out is, hey, I'm giving away some free life coaching sessions. So click on the life coaching tab and schedule your session with yours truly. And holidays are approaching. So while you're out shopping for others, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Check out our online store. We have a lot of handcrafted and lighthearted soaps and candles. In fact, I'm going to be, if you're in the California area, you might want to check out our Facebook page because I am posting about our whereabouts for little holiday festivities. We'll have booths at various places on the weekends.
Wow.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this weekend is our first one. So, it should be good.
Check out the Facebook page.
That's right. It's the Groovy Wellness Fair in Claremont, California. So,
okay.
All right. So that is our first one. Looking forward to that. That should be fun, boyfriend. You're going with me, right?
I don't think I have a choice, do I?
You guys, if you want to know more information about the boyfriend, you might want to check it out.
Boo.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, boyfriend, last episode, on episode 90, we talked about narcissism and divorcing a narcissist. And one of the things we talked with Leanne, that was our guest. I wasn't talking to myself. Leanne
she
Townsend.
Does that quite often,
yeah,
though.
I do. But I was actually talking to another Leanne on episode 90. And, we talked briefly about the idea that the term narcissist is thrown about quite a bit these days, and is it possible it's overused? We kind of talked about that. And it probably is. I mean, because not everybody's a narcissist. Maybe some people have some narcissist tendencies, or maybe they're just self-centered. Like there's a difference, right?
Is there?
Maybe there's a spectrum.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That might be fair. Or it's easy to say if someone broke up with you in a certain way or displayed certain behaviors, but that doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist.
No, a narcissist is the whole relationship and the whole
ball of
package.
wax.
Yeah.
And so what I'm really love about this week's episode is we dive deeper into that conversation because we've talked about it. It's come up quite a bit, I feel, with some of our guests and different people's personal journey and everything. And I'm not saying like those people weren't narcissists. They by all means were. But like to get a better picture, unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to understand what truly a narcissist is and what they do, right? Because it seems when we hear certain things, and as we talk to our guest today, it's kind of like she really kind of gets into the nitty gritty about it.
She goes into all the behaviors, from dating to marriage and what their goals are, and what she gets into all of it.
Yeah. And it really kind of gives us a much clearer idea of what a narcissist is, what they do. And then she also shares some of her personal experience, which I think really sheds even a brighter light on it, to give real life examples. I hate that we have to do that with anybody, but it really gives us a better, clearer picture. So boyfriend, I think what we should do is just go segue right into our guest here, because I think she's the one with all of the goods this week.
No, I agree. So tell us about our guest this week.
I mean, this is like gold. So if you're looking for good information on narcissists, you've come to the right episode. In fact, this is part 1 of 2. That's how much she had to share with us. So this week's guest is Susan Ball. Susan is the founder of Empowered Her, an author, a speaker, and a self-worth activist, and she's on a mission to free women from their abusive relationships. Susan's message is simple and begins once a woman escapes her abusive, toxic, or ugly relationship. She wants women to aim higher, learn to recognize just how much they are worth, and believe in themselves and establish healthy boundaries as they begin to dream again and love themselves unconditionally. Susan is a passionate, fierce cheerleader who encourages women to rekindle their joy and embrace their big, bold, blissful life. So without further ado, Susan Ball. Susan, welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on. I'm really looking forward to talking to you because narcissism is a very popular topic with our listeners. And I feel like there's a lot of mystery still around dealing with narcissists and how to identify them, because I don't feel like we ever talk about narcissism until we actually encounter and have that experience. It's not like something we learn in school, darn it, because that would have been great.
Yeah, how to identify the psychopath in your life.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I know that you have been married and divorced twice, correct?
Correct.
And have either of your exes been a narcissist, or is that a place you want to go?
Oh, that's no problem. I have no problem talking about it. Yes, both of them were.
Really?
The very first one was more of what would you call it? A covert narcissist. So he was very, his ability to twist me up and put me down was profound, just profound. I'll give you an example. We would say we were going to meet somewhere, say at 7:00 at night to do something, go for dinner. And I would arrive a little late because I had to take transit. And he would be standing there tapping his watch. And he would say, I can see how you can get 7 and 7:15 confused. Which would, of course, make me get all, oh, my God, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Can we still be friends? Can we still go out? And a lot of times he would say, no, I don't want to go for dinner tonight. Forget about it.
Right. So, okay. So that's interesting because I think of people I know, like my parents are always very prompt. And if people don't show up, they're like, we're going to cancel. So I'm wondering, how can you tell a difference between somebody just that's their pet peeve and that's the way they are versus a narcissist? What else? I'm guessing there are other things also that he did.
Love bombing.
Yeah.
So when you are going out with someone and you meet them, the narcissist will love you right away. He will want to protect you and take care of you, move in with you, marry you, have babies. He's never met anyone like you. You are the best thing that has ever happened to him.
Okay.
And that's a red flag. That's a huge red flag.
So those things kind of compounded with if you make a mistake or if you're late, right?
Yes.
Then those things that's kind of magnified more so than someone's pet peeve. So that would be a better way to kind of tell the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's magnified like that. And the other thing that narcissists do after they love bomb you and they fall in love within 5 minutes of meeting you is they begin the manipulation by isolating you from your friends and family. That's their next sort of project, their next step.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So before we move on to that, because that's a huge one, I know, but when it comes to love bombing and stuff, do you find that a lot of people would say, well, isn't it possible that, because we see this in the movies, right? Where people fall in love quickly or a guy's really head over heels over someone and suddenly he's showing up and looking for her all the time and stuff. And they kind of romanticize that behavior. So is that why a lot of people get confused with or don't think anything's wrong with it? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I have to agree with that, Leanne. The whole behavior of love at first sight is very romanticized. So it causes confusion. I mean, granted, we all want to have a healthy relationship. We all want someone to love us. We all want to be in a relationship. But when you step back from somebody coming on to you and saying, I love you, baby, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Within, say, 2 dates, that's an issue. That's somebody who is, because did you fall in love that quickly?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
And I know when I got into a healthy relationship, it took quite some time before we actually uttered those words. We got to know each other.
Right.
And I remember with the narcissist, the malignant narcissist who tried to kill me, he was one of those. He started on me with they lie, they manipulate and they lie and they say, I have never said this to another woman in my life this quickly. I love you so much.
Right. And so it's lies like that we wouldn't know unless we knew their exes or unless we knew their patterns, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the other things they do and to watch out for is when they're love bombing you and they're in love with you, there's a pattern of talking about their exes that if their ex wasn't a crazy bitch, they would have loved her too.
Right.
But she was just right off the rails, and that's why he had to leave. And so everything will be blamed on her.
Right. Yeah.
As being this psycho.
That's so true. Yeah. And you know what? And it's interesting. The whole concept of anybody calling their ex crazy, I always caution people, like, don't watch where you go with that, because that's putting a lot on the other person. And that's just kind of generalizing or hearing, like I've heard a lot of different men say, oh, women are just crazy. And that's kind of a red flag in itself, because women aren't just crazy.
No, and it is a red flag. And it's to me, it doesn't show that he actually respects or even cared about his ex at any level.
Right.
Because if you did, you wouldn't talk about her that way, especially if there's children involved or it was like a 25-year marriage and you're suddenly, she was the crazy one and all of that stuff. You wouldn't do that because you would have a certain amount of respect for that person.
Yeah.
They've just spent a lot of their life with you.
Mm-hmm. So a big sign is, and I've seen this in someone, is that they call their exes crazy. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? I've noticed, is it true? Like, I had an instance where someone nicknamed me, and then I found out they nickname all of their girlfriends that same nickname.
Yeah, that's one too.
Yeah. Right? Instead of never called me by my name, always referred to me as a nickname, and it's funny because the nickname he gave, like if any man had ever referred to me that way, it would just make my skin crawl. And for some reason, when he did it, it seemed okay. And then I figured out that he was doing that to all women. And then that was like, oh, that's disgusting.
Do you know one of the most common nicknames that narcissists use is baby?
Really?
Yes, because it immediately puts you in a place as the baby, as someone who needs to be taken care of, and is not capable of making their own decisions, and is not capable of looking after themselves. So it disempowers you right away. Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. You become an infant in their eyes. And there's a certain amount of, if you weren't so immature, you'd be able to do that. We don't have money. What are you thinking? Are you a child? You don't have any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So a way to kind of take your power away. And when you think about it, when people don't call you by your name, I mean, that's kind of taking away your identity. Like, that, right? Yeah.
And the majority of narcissists are serial cheaters. So it's a very easy way for them not to get caught.
Oh, okay.
Serial cheating is one of the things that will happen if you're in a long-term relationship with a narcissist, because they need to have their ego constantly fed.
Right.
They have to look outside of the relationship to do that. Of course, they will blame you for them cheating on you when they get caught.
Right. So if they were to blame somebody, then they would basically like, well, you don't take care of me at home, or you don't do this, or you're always doing that.
Oh, yeah. Or you're 10 pounds too heavy, or you don't wear enough makeup, or it could be anything.
Okay.
I'm
Yikes.
just not attracted to you because you're like a sloth. I mean, they get very vicious with you, but they turn it around to make it your fault.
Right. Okay. Boy, these people sound like I've had an experience with a narcissist, and all of this is like, God, like, how did I not see this at the beginning? Right. Because when we hear about it, it's like, gosh, these are like really monstrous kind of human beings. How do we not know? Like, you know, when you're watching a horror flick, how do you not hear the music type of thing?
And the knife, you know.
Yeah. Right? That's what I'm thinking as we're talking about this, because it's like, yeah, these people aren't very nice people. And it seems like we should be onto them so much sooner than we are, but we're not.
Because they're very skilled, Leanne, at sort of taking their time to remove you, to do these things, to control you, that by the time they have you completely under their thumb, you are so disenchanted, your confidence is gone, your self-worth is gone, and that's where they want you to be. There's not, you know what a narcissist loves? He loves nothing more than you to be barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. Then he can run off and do his life. He can say you're too fat to have sex with. That's why he's got to go and find other women. He can't take you out looking the way you do. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there you are, you're pregnant, and you really feel you have nowhere to go.
Yeah. So I'm kind of wondering now, like, what if it's reversed? Because there are female narcissists, right?
They are the worst.
Really? What do they do to men? Like, how do they get into that control?
Women have one power that men don't, and that is using sex as a weapon. Now, a man does it viciously, and he might rape her, which is quite common in narcissistic relationships. But a woman uses that, what would you call it, that sex appeal, that promise, that, I don't even know how to describe it, but do you know where I'm going with this? Maybe you could help me. That I'm going to give you all of this when you do this.
And they kind of hold it, like they give it to them only when they want to versus and hold back. That's correct. So the men feel rejection.
That's right. And they don't feel good enough to get another woman.
Oh, right. Okay.
So she can use it as a tool, as a weapon, as a tool that way. Whereas he can only hurt you with sex.
Right.
Can't manipulate you.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And then women would probably do the same thing. Like they would nickname their partner. They would love bomb them and stuff. And is it as common though in women? Because I think like for a lot of men, if they had women who are love bombing and coming on to them and calling all the time, some men might see that. I would think that they would be like, whoa, something's wrong here more quickly than a woman would.
Yes, that is so true. Men are more tuned into, and this is kind of a weird thing, but men are more tuned into, especially a successful man, into the gold digger.
Ah, okay.
So if he sees somebody coming at him, I love you, you're the best thing that ever happened, and she's being a stalker and she's doing all this stuff, he's more apt to back away and say, you know what? I don't need this in my life. Truly. Men have more confidence in relationships. They've been raised to take the lead.
Right.
So he can easily say, I'm not interested in you. This relationship has to end. We're not raised as women to take the lead.
Right. True.
In the sense of saying, oh, it's okay to say goodbye to him. There's sort of, as my mother used to say, you know, if you miss that bus, there's another one in 5 minutes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're not raised that way. We're raised with Snow White and Cinderella, and our prince is going to come and rescue us.
Right. And we're probably much more tolerant of certain behaviors than men are.
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah. Sad and true. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So they love bomb, they manipulate, they nickname us, right? And then what is it they usually want from us?
You know, that's a good question. What they want. I mean, when you think about it from the narcissist perspective, it's interesting, and you see where they're coming from. If you can get your partner, your woman, to stay at home, not have any friends, do as she's told, be there when you want her to be there. Well, you're out drinking with your buddies, cheating on her, controlling all the money, possibly drugs and alcohol involved, all of those things. Yet she's still at home. It's the perfect life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he wants. That's the life that he wants. A woman he can call his own, but at the same time living this kind of, I almost call it childlike, you know, the 13-year-old boy.
Right. Where he can go off and do whatever he wants with the boys.
Yeah.
Or other
and
women.
The girls.
Yep. Right. And then the woman at home is not supposed to say anything. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kind of old-fashioned.
Yeah. And you mentioned too that there's oftentimes like drinking and drugs involved. And that's actually common because from what I understand, narcissists feel like they're above the law or above all rules.
Oh, yes.
Right?
And they're very good at hiding things because they will financially abuse. They always financially abuse. They will take control of the money to make sure you have no resources whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But when you do decide to leave and you start to put together a plan to leave, the very first thing that a narcissist will do is start to hide things, money, assets, anything that he thinks you will take to court to use against him.
Right. Okay.
Because he doesn't want that to happen.
Or anything that maybe he thinks you value so that you can't have it. Not because he wants it, just so you can't have it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So when it's time to leave a narcissist, like we really can't tell them that we're leaving.
Oh, no, you can't say that because they will put well, first of all, they'll love bomb you. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. I won't see her again. I'll stay off social media. I won't go on the dating sites. Believe it or not, majority of narcissists are very active on dating sites.
Really? Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, very active because it is a constant supply of women.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And a lot of women who are on there are not maybe as confident as they could be. They could be lonely. They could be desperate in some ways, looking for a relationship. That's what they're looking for.
Right. So and they can easily hide who they are because on social media, you can present a whole different appearance than what you truly are, which they would be good at because they just pretend everything.
Oh, they are pretenders.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it is the perfect evil for them.
Yeah. Oh,
it's like a candy store.
Right. So when they do this whole financial, so that basically they take control emotionally, physically, financially, right? And then when you go to leave, if you tell them you're leaving, they're going to do everything to prevent you from leaving.
That is correct. So when you feel that it's time to leave, and the sooner the better, because they don't change. Anybody who's listening, they don't change. They only get worse. Don't tell them because that's when they play very, very good. they play very, very well with you for a while. They're faithful. They go around your family. They have your friends over for tea. They're loving and supportive, but it's just a show. So when you're ready to leave, it's time to get all your paperwork together. And when I say that, I mean your passport, because they're notorious for hiding passports, birth certificates, driver's licenses, insurance documentation, your will if you have one, your tax returns, photocopy them, take them. Anything that you can get your hands on and put it in a safe place. If you have a trusted friend, if you can put it in, if you work and you're in an office and you have somebody there who can help you, take it away from the house, remove it from the house completely.
Okay. Because they will take those things, right?
They will control all of those things, and they will lie through their teeth and say, I've never seen it. I know when I ran for my life before I did, my then husband had bought us tickets to go to Paris for our honeymoon. And he took the tickets, he told a big lie, and I found out he actually took his girlfriend.
Oh.
And when I went to ask him for my passport, because I said that I was going to do something on my own, he told me this lie that the Canadian government hadn't issued me a passport because they needed to check into my criminal background.
What? Oh,
yeah,
my.
I know.
And so, did you believe it?
I did. I was really scared. I was like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Are they calling me?
Right.
Who's looking for me?
Like, what did I do? Oh, my God.
But because you're in such a state, they've broken you down so far that something as ridiculous as that sounds to me now actually sounds real and believable.
Right. And that's an interesting point, because that's something that I don't think a lot of people understand about narcissists, is it's a gradual thing. It's not like all of a sudden you're like, this person's manipulating me. It's so gradual and subtle that things seem normal through the whole thing until you get so far into it, you look back and you're like, oh my God, what has happened? Right? Oh. So kind of like, would it, like when you said, well, when I showed up late and he was like, well, it's late and we're not going now, right? Like to some people, they would be like, well, that's how I would be. But when you add up all of the things that they do on a regular basis, and not just what they do, but how they do it or how they say it and their actions behind it, that's what really makes the difference, right? Because, because all these things build upon another. It's not just like one instance or, like his pet peeve was promptness. It was anything that you did over time, if it wasn't perfect or if it wasn't done in his way, or if he could, even if it was perfect, he would find a way that it wasn't.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Just to differentiate. Yeah.
Yeah. The fellow with the watch who was very rude, he, I remember a few times we went out with his friends to different events, parties, whatever they were. I was quite young at the time, in my 20s. Mm-hmm. And another party came up, and I remember saying to him, oh, are we going? And we talk in we's. They are still you and me.
Right.
Sometimes we. And I said, oh, are we going to so-and-so's party for Halloween or whatever? And he said, no, you're not going. I'm going. You're not going, because the last time we went, do you remember that you started to not feel well and you wanted to leave early? And that really was not what I wanted to do. And I don't want another scene like that. Mm. So then you feel, wow,
right. You're being punished because you did something bad. Right.
Yeah. And you weren't feeling well, which is kind of a human thing. So in a healthy relationship, your partner would be concerned because you're not feeling well.
Right.
And get you to where you need to be. Well, they're not concerned like that.
Right. They'll use it against you later and then say you're not invited.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's things like that, because I found, and you probably found this too, like, okay, so if you had said that to somebody and said, because I think if people don't and tell me if you found the same thing. If people haven't encountered a narcissist, they can't fully understand what you've experienced, what you've gone through.
No.
Right? Because they're just like, that'll sound like, not that big of a deal. But they are when you're living there, and because they're not like normal people. You know what I mean?
They're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not like normal people. They take what they want when they want it, and then they discard you when they don't want it anymore.
Right.
And they tell you that it's because of you that you have been discarded, whether it's to not go to the party or out for dinner or to his mom's house for Christmas or whatever it is. It's your fault that you're being discarded for that event. So that leaves you crying, feeling inadequate, your confidence takes another kick, all of those things, your self-worth, your value. To give an example, they love to make fun of you when you have an idea. And when I was married to my last one, I wanted to take up watercolor painting. And I thought, and this is the other thing, when you're with a narcissist, you start to doubt everything you're going to say. So you sit back and you think, how am I going to approach this? When is a good time to talk to him? I hope he doesn't blow up or he doesn't laugh at me. I think I'll do it when the kids are here, less chance of a response.
Mm-hmm.
You start to think in those sorts of ways instead of being excited about what you're asking about. And I remember sitting down at the table, and they weren't his kids. He was stepdad. Sitting down at the table, and I put this out here that I wanted $25, because remember, now I'm financially dependent on him. He's taken away that. $25 to take this watercolor painting class. And he burst out laughing. He laughed so hard he had to punch the table, which scared the girls. And then he looked up and he said, can you imagine your mom painting a picture? Think about it.
Right.
So right there, because I don't want my girls to be put in that position, I say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It was a stupid thought anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how they manipulate.
Yeah. Great example, right? Where they belittle, because they're belittling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they love to do it in front of other people.
Right. So in that case, and you had two little girls, right?
Yes.
Now, as a narcissist parent, how do they use this behavior towards their children?
They're horrible parents. They're horrible parents because in a lot of ways, they don't truly care about the children.
Mm-hmm.
They care about what the children can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that if you're divorced and you have children, they will badmouth their ex to their children. They will manipulate their children. A lot of times in these relationships, unfortunately, after the divorce, the mom will end up having a very rocky relationship with her children because he will not stop telling the kids how stupid mom is. What stupid thing did mom do this week while he wasn't around? Was she doing this? Did she do this? Is she having men over? What is she? So he's constantly using them to get information and to manipulate and degrade their mom.
Right. So they get a totally different, so that he plays the parent, good cop, bad cop. So he makes himself out to be the good parent, and right. So that children, okay. So, that's nasty. That, like, divorces are hard enough. That would just be horrible. And even if you guys weren't divorced, would he do the same thing?
Yes. Yes, because he wants to be in control.
Right.
So, and it's very difficult because for the woman who's gone through this and they're going through their healing, and the healing process is complex and it's multi-layered. I mean, you have to get rid of all those layers of put downs and build your confidence and so on and so forth. At the same time, if you have kids and their kids are coming in and they're saying, Daddy says that you're a blah, 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 you can't even cook a meal to save your life. It puts you back in that place again. You're back there.
Right. Yeah. And It's now narcissism, is it a gene that's passed down? I mean, people have said it's from different things. It could be from, child abuse as a young child right? Or it starts very young. Is that correct?
Starts very young, and it's a learned behavior. From the research that I've read, it's a learned behavior.
So if there's a narcissist parent, there's a good chance that their children could learn that behavior from them.
Correct. And it can be as simple as a child who is overly spoiled by a grandparent.
What do you
mean? Everything they want. Everything they want. Now, I know one particular person whose child was spoiled that way, to the point where the girl could call her grandparents on Christmas Day if she wasn't satisfied. And the grandparents would run out and get her all of the things that she didn't get under the tree. And then she would look at her parents and say, see, told you.
Oh my God.
What I wanted.
Wow.
Now, that's building a really malignant narcissist right there.
Yeah. That's scary. Yeah. That's scary. They'd be highly disappointed in my family, by the way. But
Mine too.
Wow. That's kind of terrifying that those kind of behaviors can affect someone so tremendously in their lifetime. Like that can really develop some really sick people. The enabling, the spoiling or the enabling of someone can really damage them. Because these people now know they don't have any mirror neurons to reflect empathy.
No.
They
don't understand. So take that little girl, she grows up and she's dating somebody, and she says she wants a Prada handbag for her birthday. And he says, I can't afford that. She has no filter for that. What does it mean you can't afford it? Get it for me.
Right.
If you loved me, you would get it for me. Now, if she's met a man who is not got a lot of confidence, is, easily manipulated, she's going to get that Prada bag. He's going to go into debt.
I was wondering how some of these women got these things. I'm like, there's no way. Oh my God. Oh. So, right? I need to channel my inner narcissist once in a while. No, I don't.
I've tried with my current husband. I try every once in a while, to be that mean girl.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No. He just says, nice try.
Right? Like, darn it, you read my playbook. So I'm wondering, okay, so now that we have a really good picture of what these narcissists are, now to get out of this scenario, we talked about you can't let them know because they're going to try and stop you. And in my case, I had to make it out it was his decision, so that it's it was my decision. So they're good with that.
Yeah.
Right. But go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
But that's not always doable in every situation.
No, it's not. And a lot of times the women, they have lost all their financial independence. They have lost all of their friends and family. They are very isolated and alone. Yeah. And he has built that up just the way he likes it. And a lot of times, too, this is the other key thing to the narcissist. They will actually, if they do come around your family, mom and dad, for Christmas, they will come off as the best guy in the whole wide world. So that when you phone mom and dad and say, I got to leave this guy, he's a jerk, they go, Kevin, he's so good to you.
Right. Oh, and then you have nobody to go to.
Then it's okay, now what?
Yeah. Right? Because now you're the jerk.
That's right.
How could you do? Yeah.
So you got your parents saying to you, what, Leanne, he's really good to you. He comes over and he's blah, blah, blah. And then you're doubting yourself again.
Yeah. So attention, parents out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because how would they know? So unless they were around enough to know that there's big changes in maybe you, but really, narcissists are good actors.
Oh, tremendous.
They're
I
really
remember
good.
when I left my first one, 4 years, that relationship lasted 4 years. I almost married him. And I can remember when I left him, people would come up to me and say, he was so good to you. You guys were always going here or doing this or doing that. And I think, no, we weren't. Who told you that?
Really?
But he was weaving that story.
Right. So that's what he was out there telling everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he was doing all this stuff and that, and yeah. So he was weaving a completely different story.
And geez. Okay. So you didn't marry your first narcissist.
No, thank you.
Oh, right. But you were still with him for 4 years. So I'm wondering, and then you were married twice after that, or was that in between?
No, twice after that.
Okay. So here you had an experience with a narcissist, and then your first and second husband were also narcissists?
My first husband was the nicest guy you will ever meet, and I didn't want to marry him, but I felt that I needed to get married.
Okay. And so you did. So he wasn't a narcissist.
No, but he wasn't, but he was boring.
Compared to a narcissist, yeah, I would imagine so.
And you know what? To tell you the truth, Leanne, I jumped from one relationship to another one way too quickly. Yeah. I didn't do any of the healing, and it was unfair to the person that I married.
Yeah.
Absolutely unfair. And to this day, we are still friends. We just always should have been friends.
Right. Well, did you see him as safe after that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Stable, safe, middle class parents, who are never divorced and all of that stuff. He fit the mold.
Yeah. And so you ended that marriage, and then what happened? How much time did you have between that first marriage and your next one?
About 3 years.
Okay, so not too long, but a few years, right? So
yeah, I did it, and I didn't set out to meet this person.
Right.
I met him because a friend of mine, he was a girlfriend's boyfriend's friend.
Okay.
And of course, you get you haven't been out in a long time, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, what harm could it do?
Right.
Well, that's a whole different story. I was getting phone calls because we went out, we had some dinner and we had some drinks, and I went home. And then I started to get phone calls. Oh, I was really thinking about you today. I miss you so much. Let's get back together. And from the time I met him till when I ran for my life, it was about 1.5 years.
Wow. And you were married in that time?
That's correct, because he really wanted to get married. And I kept resisting. But that's one of the things with the narcissist. They will tell you the romantic version of things. So he chose my birthday weekend to get married, and he said, then we can celebrate your birthday and our anniversary together. It'll be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How soon? Okay, so you went out on this date with him. He started love bombing you, right? Calling you all the time, moving quickly.
Yeah. He bought a house. I remember I was a single mom with 2 little girls, and we lived in a 3-story walk-up apartment. He bought a house out of town. So there's the first isolation.
How soon after you met him?
3 months.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 months. And I agreed to move in with him because, remember, he had me believing that he was my knight in shining armor, basically.
Right. He had never met anybody like you. You were the one yeah.
Yeah. Moved into the house, and it was about 2 hours away from my hometown. So now you're removed from your friends, family, all of that kind of stuff. But he presented it to me as the girls having a backyard, a block away from school. They would have bikes. They would, the whole 9 yards, white picket fence, dream house.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in there. I worked in the city, so I was taking the train. I was still financially independent. I had worked out a deal with my boss that I would work 3 days a week instead of 5 to make it a little bit easier because it was a long commute. And about 2 months after moving into the house, he came home and he told me that he had quit my job for me.
What?
Yeah, because he felt that, he made enough money to support everybody, and he could see how tired I was from the commute and the girls and looking after everything in the house. And it would be so much nicer for me to be home with the girls, and he would look after everything.
Oh, my God.
Sounded good to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, because you're...
What a lovely man to do that for me, Leanne.
Yeah. Looking at it now, you're like, whoa. But yeah, because now you're like, oh, I can stay at home and we have the perfect family and I can raise my kids. And yeah. Right.
And I had never had that opportunity because I had to work as a single mom. I'd never had the opportunity to stay home with them and sort of get to know them. It sounded like a great thing to do.
Right. But he had done the quitting for you. Wow.
Yeah, big red flag right there. And you know what? Because I was so entranced with this man who presented himself so well as this loving, caring, compassionate, empathetic, human being that was going to make sure that no harm ever came to me and my 2 girls. That wasn't a red flag to me at all.
Right. No, because that's just it. You're in it and he's telling you all the right things and saying all the things you ever wanted to hear.
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've moved out of town and he's quit your job for you and you can be a stay-at-home mom. What happened next?
Over the course of about 6 months, then he started really getting on me about getting married and having another child, our child. This is another big one with narcissists. This is something that they use to tie you down because they feel that once you have a child with them, you will never leave them. Now they've got the perfect scenario. Right. I didn't want any more children, so I started to get a lot of resistance. I started to give a lot of resistance about that. So, but he kept on about the wedding thing, getting married. I finally said, okay, fine, we'll get married. I thought it was going to be like at City Hall. No, he wanted a big blowout. The gown, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Which also was embarrassing and guilt and shame at the end of it all. But anyway, I went along with it. Like I said, he picked my birthday weekend, which was the first weekend in October. And we got married. And I remember my oldest daughter standing with me when I had on my wedding gown before I got married, tears in her eyes. And she said, "Mommy, don't marry him. Please don't do this."
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, she still tells me that now. Told ya.
Wow. So
she was 10.
She was 10. Now, did she say anything about it before then, like when you moved in with them or anything?
She would sometimes say things like, I don't really like him. I'm mad at him. But I took it as 10-year-old girl with stepfather kind of things.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
There was nothing specific. It just seemed to be, he told her to put her bike away, so she was pissy with him.
Right. Okay.
Kind of normal.
Yeah. But
I got married and we had this big party and we stayed in a very fancy hotel, which I had never been to. And this is the other thing. They listen to everything you say. They listen to every dream or wish that you have and they fulfill them for you. That's another way that they keep themselves endeared to you. I mentioned this hotel, and he surprised me at the wedding in front of everybody that he was taking me to the Royal York Hotel in Toronto, and he had rented the honeymoon suite. Well, that's really expensive.
Right.
And I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? Such a sham. Anyway, I fell for it. The morning after, as we were leaving the underground parking lot, he reached over in the Jeep that we were driving, grabbed my hand, and he said, "Look at me." And I thought I was going to get, "I love you" or something.
Yeah.
And he said, "Now that you're my wife, you will do as you're told, how you're told, and when you're told. Is that clear?"
What?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a whole different picture.
Whole different. Then the real brutal human being came out.
That quickly.
That quickly.
And when he said that, what was your reaction? What were your thoughts?
I thought he was joking.
Oh my God.
I said, oh, sure. Okay. Anything you say, honey.
Right?
And off we went on our little road trip for our honeymoon.
Yeah.
When we got back to the house, and the girls and all, we were only gone for a few days. I had said that I didn't want to change my last name, and I never have. And he had brought home a piece of paper, I guess, from the government to change my name. And I laughed, and I said, you already know how I feel about that. And he took it, and he grabbed my hair, and he balled it up, and he forced it into my mouth, so I was choking on it. He said, you'll either change your name, or you're going to die choking on it. That was the first incidence of violence.
Oh, my God. And this must have scared the hell out of you.
It did. It did. But in typical narcissist fashion, he did exactly what a narcissist will do. And malignant narcissists who beat women, and they are, because there are different types of narcissists, but he was malignant. When they beat somebody, he immediately, after it was over and I was crying and the girls were at their dad's for that visit, so they weren't in the house, he immediately came and went to the store with a bottle of wine, and he was crying big crocodile tears and didn't know what had gotten into him. And he was so sorry. So sorry.
Mm. Oh my gosh.
So I thought, hey, sorry.
Right.
You know, he's promised it won't happen again. So we got married in October, and I ran for my life the following February. So what's that? November, December, January, February, 4 months.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So things escalated quickly in 4 months.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What brought you to the point of you knew you had to leave? Right.
The night that I left, he strangled me to blacking out.
Oh.
And when I came to, my 2 daughters were standing in the kitchen doorway, not knowing what to do. And I remember when I came to, I saw my oldest one holding my little one's hand, and they were just kind of looking at me on the floor. And I had enough sense in my head to get up and think to myself, this is not what I want them to know is a relationship. And we had 3 doors in it was a big Victorian home, so it was quite big. I grabbed them and I pushed them out the side door to the neighbors. And I ran for the front door because the police station was about 4 blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
And when I opened the front door and I slammed it behind me, he caught on to what was going on. He chased me to the police station, threatening to kill me.
Oh.
Yeah, they arrested him at the police station.
Oh, my God. Thank God, first of all, that you were within running distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that they caught him basically in the act of threatening you. So stay tuned for part 2, episode 92, where we find out how Susan's husband gets out of jail and how Susan gets out of this relationship.